any minute now. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. We're live. Hi. Welcome in everybody to Reshaping Reality for August 2026. I'm here with Penny Kelly. Penny, how are you tonight?
I am good, very good, and I hope you are, and I hope everybody out there is just feeling their oats these days.
Yeah, I hope so too. And kids, for those of you watching, buckle up. We're not leaving here till I get answers tonight. I'm very focused on a topic that I think you might be thinking about as well. So, first, I want to check in with Penny. She just returned from the Tesla Tech conference where she was a speaker. And I was fortunate enough to be able to see her talk online. If you're interested in watching the Tesla Tech conference, you can get the whole conference online. It's only $99. And gosh, just one innovator after another doing the work that we need. We desperately need to become household names. I don't think much of it is new information, Penny. I think it's just been so suppressed. And these are the little garage warriors that are doing the work. So I was able to watch Penny's talk, which is so very good. And most of my questions tonight are going to be focused on what she brought up in that talk. But why don't you tell us, Penny, how the conference was for you, what you got out of it, and just any thoughts you would like to share with us?
Okay. Well, getting there and getting home was the biggest challenge of anything. But once I was there, what I saw, similar things to you, is like, look at all the people puttering in their garage or in their workshop, coming up or understanding so many things, trying things. You hear me say that all the time. Try things. And coming up with these amazing insights, ideas, technology, and we're moving ahead. We are moving ahead into what I'll call the plasma world, plasma physics, and that part for me was wonderful. What I was surprised at was this thread that ran through a lot of the presentations that had to do with consciousness. Some had to do only, I don't think they realized, but knowing what I know and listening, it's like they're talking about, well, at this frequency, this, or at that frequency, that. And I was like, they're talking about consciousness. So I thought, okay, all right, that's something that I think is starting to bubble up. And of course, my presentation was, hey, it's time for a science of consciousness. And I didn't know if that would be too much out of the box, but people came up to me for the next couple days. Oh my gosh, thank you, thank you. So they liked it. And I thought, okay, we are ready. We're ready for a science of consciousness. And these guys are all messing around with that. And once they put two and two together, that's going to be a huge change, a huge leap forward.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be exponential. Because I think the science of consciousness is the missing piece that's going to add jet fuel to all the guys working with the energy and the water and the whole thing. I haven't been able to watch everybody's talk yet, but boy, the ones that I did watch were exciting. These are just, what I loved about it was the Wild West feel.
That's true.
The speakers. I mean, these guys are not following the rules.
Nope.
They are messing around until they figure out something that works, and then they mess around some more to make it better. And they're just they're cool and they're fun and they're quirky and they're wild. And I think that is the energy we need to get back.
We do. We really do. Yeah.
This wild creativity is like, just let them loose and they go do stuff.
Mm-hmm. So. And they do. And they don't always know how to present what they're saying in a way that follows plasma physics per se, but that's what they're playing with. And I think we're moving into that paradigm like 90 miles an hour now. those
Yeah.
that are presenting or were presenting.
Yeah.
And there's such potential. Did you see the one guy who had built the, I don't know, was it like 12-foot in diameter spacecraft? And he
No.
was making it float. Oh, okay. So it's like, oh, there we go.
There
And
he is.
that's not the deep state technology. That's our technology. That's us figuring out, okay, there's something to be discovered here. And yeah, I think, there's a part of the US government has all of that technology. And when you know the history of science from back in the 1850s forward, and you kind of have a general picture. It doesn't have to be perfect, but a general picture of what people were discovering and fiddling with. You can see that we have had this extraordinary path right into advanced technology. And I think I was telling somebody earlier today, I think the discovery, the ETs watching us said, hey, they have figured it out. We need to be present. We need to intervene. And of course, the U.S. government shot everything down that they could, so that they could like try reverse engineering. But they already had most of the theory, a lot of the engineering worked out. And so the ET craft provided some insight and some, what would I call, inspiration. But we earned it all the way through, and maybe didn't recognize what we had earned. But when the ETs came along, it really came together. So I think we are marching forward at a wonderful rate.
Yeah.
And moving into that world of plasma physics, you can't go there without getting into consciousness, because plasma responds directly to consciousness immediately. Plasma is consciousness in form.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to have to take into account what are you doing with your consciousness? What is your mindset when you're puttering in that garage or that laboratory?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how I got to the place where I was kind of pitching a little fit in an email to Penny, because we were talking about what we wanted to discuss, because I think some of you might be there too, where I was. And that was, I had it up to here with everywhere I turned, I was hearing either lies or bullshit.
I know.
Lies from the government, lies from agencies, lies from talking heads, the bullshit from the new age woo-woo crap. Everywhere I turn, and I, it's like all the talking heads on YouTube, one after another. Oh, this is going on, and this is going on, and this is going on. And I just had really hit my limit, because what I wanted was, and I think I said it in the email, I want the scientific basis for the reality we live in. I want to know how this reality works. I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of being misdirected. I'm tired of that. And for me, that frustration right there is the key that unlocks the next step of knowledge.
Right.
Because that frustration asks for the answer. And so I sent off this pissy ass email to Penny that I've just had it up to here. And she sends me back, this, and I ended up watching her talk at the Test Tech, and it answered completely my question. And what Penny talked about at the conference, and I pulled up some notes when I screenshotted the things that you showed on your computer that I want to talk about, is laid out in a very concise way how this reality is formed and how things come into matter, and how that new age saying, which was always annoyed me, which is you create your reality. And I was like, bullshit, that asshole did that, not me.
Yeah, I know. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And so what I recognize now, because I've been told, Penny, and other people have talked about plasma enough that I understand it now. It takes a while, took me a while to really put all the pieces together to realize, yes, we do create 100% of our reality. But what we also need to put into the mix is that the person right next to us is also creating.
That's right. You're not the only one creating.
Yeah.
So, and if you abdicate, watch out.
Watch out. Which is why it's so important for us to have focus and intent on what it is we want. The
Right.
people that just, oh, I'll just see what happens, or I'll just go with the flow, or this and that, then you're just writing on everyone else's intentions. But I digress. So I want to pull out a few notes, Penny, and I'm going to read it, and then maybe you can talk to it.
Okay.
This is Penny talked about the teacup dictation.
Oh, yeah.
The process by which space becomes matter. And what I love about this is that the steps are so practical and easy to understand, and it
Right.
flows so beautifully. Mind, and I believe you're talking about the universal mind, is the awareness property of space.
Right.
And when you say mind, you're talking about the universal mind. Is that correct?
Right. Not human mind, not plant mind, not animal mind. It is the mind. You might say it's almost the mind of God. It is this general awareness property that responds.
That
So,
responds.
yeah.
So space is aware.
Right.
Energy is consciousness in motion.
Yep. Right.
Which right there is everybody that presented at that conference, could apply that to their work.
That, right.
Particles are intelligent.
Yep.
And patterns self-organize and seek to evolve and grow.
Right.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I have a question about that last point, the pattern self-organizing.
Okay, so we emerge, humans, trees, plants, animals, cars, buildings, emerge from this soup of particles. But where do the particles come from? They come from frequency waves. And that we call that energy in science. So if you start at the beginning, we have this global, it's cosmic, not global, cosmic space. It's full of space. This space is aware, and it's very silent and very still. It's blissful. But if it starts to move, when it starts to move, it goes through a phase change from this mind, we'll say at the state of being just aware, but not aware of anything in particular, just the capacity to be aware. Now it starts to move. The phase change that occurs when it moves from mind to motion is a phase change from mind to consciousness. And so mind becomes consciousness. Consciousness is really mind in motion. So that's energy. In science, we call that energy, and that is consistent with what scientists today say. Somehow space begins to move, and so there's things we don't know. But once you have motion, you have waves, frequency waves. They spiral, and there's a little spark of light that gets produced at the tiny end, at the end that has we call it the Z pinch, because the spiral starts big, and then it goes down to some little tiny point, and then there's a particle flash, a photon, and the size of the frequency, the length, the speed, the frequency of it, how many times it rotates, all that creates different kinds of particles. So the frequency type creates a type of particle. And then you have particles. Particles, now you have intelligence. As soon as you have a particle, that's a form. That is matter. and matter begins to communicate. This is what I find so amazing. It communicates, and what does it communicate? This is what I can do. It's kind of like, look, mom, watch me, mom. Look what I can do, mom. And little kid jumps 6 inches into the pool or or whatever, or jumps rope or whatever. And so we have these particles, and then the particles are intelligent. The intelligence means the ability to communicate. And people or particles, and we're not talking human communication. We're talking communication of location in space, and spin and direction, all of that. That's what a particle communicates. And other particles will either be attracted or not. And then what happens is you end up with all these particles, millions and millions of particles. And here's something that I've seen that I haven't figured out how to say in words. I have to show in a graphic. But within that mass of particles, certain particles in certain locations will discover that they can work together. There might be 5 million other particles in the way, in the middle of them, but they're irrelevant. The ones that are communicating start to build a structure, and we call that a lattice structure. That lattice structure is the basis of all chemistry. And so the particles begin to work together, and they create a pattern. The pattern now becomes the basis for creating a plasma. What is a plasma? It's a group of particles working together, communicating together. That group of particles emerges, we say emerges from the soup. Really, we just identify it in the soup of particles and say, oh, look at, there's a whatever. And plasma becomes matter. So those are the steps to becoming a thing, a real thing. Something you can touch and feel and hear and see, or maybe taste and smell and get warmed by, or whatever.
Okay, so we have this plasma that is a group of particles.
Right.
So I'm looking at, how does my intention or your intention or someone's intention impact that plasma?
Okay, so plasma, you have mind, you start with mind, which becomes consciousness, which becomes intelligence, which becomes intent. What is the intent? It's to survive and preserve itself and grow and evolve into something greater. So you have this consciousness and mind and intelligence, all that is embedded in the pattern. And that pattern then begins to communicate. Now let's say it took a long time for humanoid forms in all their complexity to evolve. It was a long process. We are responsible for keeping ourselves going. Okay, so when a human, let's just talk human impact, the impact of human consciousness on the soup in terms of impacting already existing plasmas or creating new plasmas, either one is valid. So you have these blue rays, these two laser rays that come out of your eyes, and they converge at a point about 1.5 feet in front of you, and they shape matter based on the intent or the picture or the feeling you have in your consciousness at the moment you are looking out there. Okay? It's just that simple. When you see how a hologram works, how holographic photography works, what you realize is, oh, wow, that is the same thing that the human does. You have this intent, I want something, or maybe your eyes are even closed, okay? You still emit this tremendous energy. Your entire frequency set reshapes and reorganizes based on what you are thinking, wanting, feeling, doing from day to day, minute to minute, actually. So you sit down to meditate, and what you meditate on, let's say you want to get out of debt. And so you're trying to, if you get into the meditation and you're saying, I want to erase debt, you're all focused on debt, you're just going to create more debt. If you say in that meditation, I have money, I am rolling in money, I feel money, I hear it, I smell it, I taste it, I touch it, I am living a life of ease, etc. What you project in that moment is abundance. I guess we'll call it abundance. And that changes everything around you. Now, mind you, if your debt problem is based in Afghanistan or London or Brazil or, Shanghai, someplace else, you might not have a big impact on that. But what happens is if you continue to do that over and over and over, it begins to draw. And because like attracts like at the level of plasma, there are tremendous forces that we haven't quite figured out how, we haven't acknowledged how they work. But when you have when you hear something, for instance, you hear something is going to happen at such and such a time, something in your gut says, yep, or it says, nope, that's not happening. Then that is true for you. That's a moment of your truth. And it's a spontaneous thing. So, all of what we respond to either furthers troubles or ends troubles. Either brings peace and quiet and security, or it brings chaos, uproar, and insecurity. So our response to what's already been created is big. It's huge. It's powerful. Other people are creating, right now we have a lot of people that are creating chaos. They are angry because anger is change energy that hasn't been allowed to go anywhere. And it builds up this, something's going to change, but it doesn't. Pretty soon you get angry. You have so much change energy built up and you can't change. You won't change. Something is in the way of changing, or you're afraid to change, and that it turns into anger. And so that anger is something that just, it's like, okay, back off. Take a little step.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
I'm trying to move forward so I don't get feedback from the microphone.
Okay.
A person is angry. They're building that energy.
Yep.
If they were at that time to decide a specific intention or outcome that they were looking for, would that then dissipate that energy and turn it into motion?
It does. I've had a lot of students who have said, how do I get rid of this anger? And my response is pretty much the same. No. You hang on to that anger and you use the energy of that anger, which is change energy, to make something happen the way you want it to happen. So that's the kind of thing that happens when you've heard stories about the mother who sees her little kid, get run over by a truck or something, or get pinned by a truck, and she goes over and picks up the truck, hauls the kid out. That is a mother whose full intention is focused on, I'm changing this. And when you have that kind of intent, you're fully in alignment with what I'll call the energy around you, then you have the energy of the entire universe in the palm of your hand, and there's almost nothing that can stop you. And that is something that is so not explored. China has explored that kind of thing, but we have not done that. Probably they did in MK Ultra, but it's not public. And so what we have is this opportunity to channel that anger. And instead we get all embarrassed, and people in the spiritual world they don't want to admit they're angry, and they are. And so they waste all that anger. It ends up taking them down. instead of them channeling that energy, not the meanness, not the ugliness, not just the plain old, I'm going to change this because I said so, damn it, that kind of energy. And that is something that people have not quite figured out yet. So,
Yeah, we don't take advantage of it. Okay, I have a follow-up question on that
okay.
topic. So you say that all those the spirals with the little spark of energy at the end, what did you call those?
Frequencies.
Okay, all those
Oh, the
frequencies.
photons, the frequencies produce a particle of light, which is a photon.
So what I'm trying to get at, and I see people say, well, Jesus is going to come and save us. And then
Okay.
I want to say, well, you are Jesus. So how are you going to do that?
That's true.
So it brings up the intention of all that is. And what I'm wondering, the last point in the teacup dictation says patterns self-organize and
Yep.
seek to involve and grow,
Right.
which means they seek to stay alive. So
That's right.
we see that in every living thing on the planet. It seeks to continue on.
Right.
My question is, and I hope I word it correctly, does all that is have a bent, a leaning? In other words, is there a leaning towards life, or a leaning towards harmony, or a leaning towards peaceful organization? In other words, when people say Jesus is going to come and save us, what they're essentially saying in my mind is that there is a benevolent force surrounding us that's going to make everything okay.
Oh,
Is there a bent for mind or for space? In other words, does it lean towards life, or does it not care? It's just
doesn't care.
function.
It doesn't care. Who cares? We care. The
care.
bent for life is in the form that takes shape and then seeks to further itself. And you can transform something beautiful and loving and kind into something ugly, or vice versa. You can transform something ugly, destructive, mean into something loving and wonderful. But if you don't take any action, then things are just going to be the way they unfold. The preponderance of love in a space is going to change the space. Even a little bit of love goes a long way. A little bit of evil also goes a long way. So when we say, the religions all teach that Jesus is going to come and save somebody, them, us, whoever, there may have been, I think there was somebody named Jesus. That wasn't his original name, but that was the name he got after he had a full awakening of consciousness. You become a Jesus. And he did that. And then, and because he was male, he got into quibbling with the authorities, which were the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees. They didn't like that. So they did what they do to all kinds of people who threaten the state. They put him to death. He did die. He is now elsewhere. He works with us there, but he's not the only one. There's so many people who have left here, stepped into an advanced consciousness and said, let me help. Let me be of service. So they come back as guides, spirit guides, angels, whatever. And then there are beings from other systems. Let me help. Why? Because we are such a unique set of humans. We were engineered to be something else, and we have slipped out of those chains and are now on the cusp of becoming this extraordinary advanced population that is moving all because it has figured things out right toward the evolution to higher states and to being able to be masters of the universe. We were just talking about this earlier today. And that means that we will teach others, this is how you evolve. This is what you don't do. This is what you do. And we're headed toward, and there are beings who are really working with us for that reason alone. Even though I think you remember me saying I had a big argument with them when they said it's too late. You know, you're going down. You're going to self-destruct. And I was like, don't you dare give up on us. Don't you dare. These are amazing people, and they don't get off their dupa until the last minute. They have to be faced with the reality. And there's a lot of people that are waking up right now facing that reality. And for those who have been awake, some of us have been awake for 45 years, it's been a long haul, a difficult long haul. And so it's like, come on. We're moving toward a higher state of being. And there's places around the planet where we can experience some of those doorways. And I think that's something that we need to learn to attune to. So, and things happen that we don't usually pay attention to, and that we don't usually think are everyday kinds of events, but they are. And I think once we learn what some of those possibilities are, we're gonna, what is that story about? We're gonna use 7-league boots and take those kinds of 7-league steps. So
okay, I want to, before we go on to the next screenshot I took of your talk, I just want to drill down on one issue, because I think that humans on this planet, particularly in Western cultures, have been systematically diminished by the powers that be.
And deliberately.
So I think it would be a good idea now to highlight why this version of human is so amazing. And the things that come up for me are our broad range of emotion.
Yep.
I mean, we have a depth of compassion that is unusual in the universe. We have amazing creativity. I'm sure there's other things that you could point out. And then the other thing I think that you've mentioned before is that our body is so resilient. I mean, they've been trying to poison us for decades, and we're still here.
I know.
Chagrin.
Yeah.
So what did I miss in that list of why this particular version of an incarnated human is so unique?
So you know how when you've been through something awful with somebody, you kind of feel a kinship with that person.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Trauma bonding. That's a big factor right there. We were started as one thing. We ended up becoming another group of ETs came in and started messing things up. Okay. And I've talked about and given talks about that process of that second group of ETs coming in, what they're doing, their process, the stages, how they work, and that we're at the end stage. So we still have all of that potential. Our compassion, the fact that we have this wild emotion. Emotion is the power that pulls the trigger on your thoughts. It's kind of a bad analogy, but that you need emotion in order to make things happen, and we have that emotion in spades. People come here to bathe in our energy, which is pretty crappy most of the time, but it's so powerful. It energizes other beings and other other things. We are kind of like, they come here to remind themselves of what not to do. So another thing is we learn very quickly from experience. Another thing is we heal like magic. Most ETs, if if they broke their leg, it takes 5 years, 6, 7 years to heal. We are healed and walking in 5 or 6 weeks. And they're like, how do you do that? So we have things that they don't have. The fact that we jump to conclusions is a sign of the power of consciousness to grab new ideas. Now, mind you, we're not grabbing a whole lot that's worth hanging on to, but that's beside the point. The point is that we are quick to grab things and then respond and react. And so that's very, very powerful. All of that points to power. And when you have a group of people that have been through something together and they have transcended that problem and figured out, hey, you're not fooling me anymore, then there's this unity of, I'm going to say it's more like an integrity and a set of ethical boundaries that begins to take shape. And you can't take those kinds of people down. They're too creative, like you said. They're too willing to get outside the box and be wild, and try things that are vastly more interesting and out of the box than usual. And because we have had such a rich environment, which was originally set up for somebody else, we have this rich library of thoughts, ideas, and language, the language of energy, which is things. Things are energy, and all the things in our reality are language for this kind of reality, and it's rich, so rich. It's like, oh my God, we are a library. And in living color and living life, plus we have DNA, amazing DNA. So that's why we are considered so special. That's why they are so willing to protect and yet to keep pushing, look, get off the sofa. You have to stand up. You have to take action. You have to make a change. You have to think differently. You have to do differently. So it's coming. It's coming.
All right, thank you for that, Penny. I want to jump into the next slide that caught my attention from the Tesla Tech Talk. And again, you guys can get this online. It's only $99. It's worth it. Okay, so mind is a primary source material.
Right.
So, and that's the universal mind.
Right.
Consciousness, I love this. This gives me goosebumps. Consciousness is its primary power tool.
Yeah, right.
It is the nature of consciousness to create.
Yep.
I mean, it's looking for something unique and fresh, and I love.
It does.
Everything leaves an imprint of its energy and consciousness on everything it touches. And how Penny explained it in the talk was, for instance, whatever the phone that you've got or the computer that you've got, every person who has touched that, everything that has happened to that is stored in that energy field.
That's right.
Which I think is remarkable because, getting back to my earlier rant, once we develop our sensitivity, we're going to be able to look at someone and know they're lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that too. Remember me talking about the all-knowing states that I've been in, where I knew every single thread, individual thread in my quilt and everything that had ever touched it. We had that, we proved that in the lab. And so that was something that, let me talk about this little experiment we did. We had a plant, okay? One of the women who frequented the lab, who really tried to support Lefty's work, had a gold ring, her wedding ring. and she put it around one of the stems on the plant. The plant immediately picked up, had a different frequency signature. We had it hooked up to the equipment. And so as soon as she touched it, it had a different frequency. And when she put the ring on the plant, there was something totally new and unexpected. So left the ring on there for a while, and we're chatting. She takes the ring off and goes home. Periodically, after that, that plant would put out this signal as if it was calling to that ring to come back. It would put out the signal of the ring, the same signal, like it had not forgotten that that ring had been on its stem. And we did that with a few other things, and had somebody just touch a shoulder, just like that. And the chart recorder and the whole thing would just go bonkers. Everything responds immediately to the slightest, I'll say, intrusion or brush of another kind of energy. And it was astounding. It really is. And so what we learned is everything remembers everything. Everybody who's ever touched it, you affect everything you come into contact with. Every word you speak, whoever hears that, they have your energy in them. They become that energy gradually, eventually. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And we went even further to discover that water had never touched a football, but it knew when the winning touchdown was scored at the Super Bowl, and things like that. And so it was really a bunch of research into consciousness that was astounding. So I'll let it go at that.
You mentioned also, and I heard you tell this story before, where when two people meet,
oh yes,
for a split second they change places.
Yep.
And go through the other person's energy field and then right back again.
Yep.
And you said that you've seen that happen over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you can physically with your eyes see those energy? So you see, what are you seeing? Are you seeing colors? Are you seeing, how is it like an aura field that shifts back and forth?
Okay, so so let me set it up so that people understand. I'm not always looking for that, okay? But there have been a number of times where I'm just somewhere, at McDonald's, when I used to go to McDonald's, sitting back with my coffee or tea or whatever, and just watching people. Somebody comes in to order a hamburger, and the kid behind the counter and the person coming in to order the hamburger change places and become one another for a split second. What I actually saw was the energy body, the plasma body of the person ordering the hamburger go right into and through the person behind the counter, and vice versa. The person behind the counter came right through the counter and into the person ordering, and then back again. And, when you're just sitting there, kind of in a half daydream state looking, it's like, wait, what did I just see? And then started noticing that happened all the time. And you have to be in the right position. Sometimes it's helpful if there's light behind the two people, and you see that exchange happen. Sometimes it's at a distance, sometimes it's up close. A couple of times I've experienced it myself, becoming the other and then coming back. It's just, it's one of those things that we do naturally, and that all plasma systems seek to unite, and we are plasma. And so that, and the research that has been done, is that plasma moves through anything. It isn't stopped by physical matter of any density at all. It just goes right through.
So the follow-ups on that are, would that as well be true? Like when you see two dogs meet each other and they start sniffing, do they do that?
Yeah.
And what would you think is the purpose of that?
To know the other.
And are there microsecond acknowledgement of similarities, or just getting to know that energy signature so that you have more information than what you had before you changed places?
It appears, and I'm kind of guessing here because I've never really stopped to ask anybody, why did you just become the other person? That they would probably think I was nuts. But I'm assuming that because we want so much to know one another, that we do that automatically. And then we come back. But then we have all these filters. Oh, don't say that. Don't think that. Don't know that. Just ignore that. Remember when you've maybe heard me talk about the first 3 years after Kundalini, when I had unlimited consciousness, and would I would meet somebody new, and I would know them completely, everything about them. And then, I would bring up something and they would, they would get a little upset that I brought something up that I knew from having changed places with them in that split second introduction. And, they would be like, who told you that? How do you know that? And then I'm all tongue-tied, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I thought they had actually told me, but people like their privacy, and they like to, and this is a rule among ETs, you ignore what somebody wants you to ignore, but you don't forget. You take into account what you know. So let's say if you go to buy a used car and you meet a used car salesman and he's a real shyster, and you know that at some level you don't quite trust him, you buy a car at your own risk, and it's really a good idea to check out the car, become one with the car, and because it isn't just people that we exchange with, it's things as well.
All right. So, and this is neither here nor there. It's just complete curiosity.
Oh, okay.
Are you able to turn that back on?
Yeah, I do it every Wednesday with the Tea and Consciousness.
Oh,
somebody comes in, and so it's like, okay, I accept. I don't come back from them until we're done. I go in. Here's what I'm picking up. This is what draws my attention. Sometimes it's the most important thing. Sometimes it's the least important thing, because they're so afraid of the truth that you say the least threatening thing, and then you maybe work your way into something that is more important in another tea. So very, very sensitive to what are people open to. And, I'm pretty much open to everything, but a lot of people are not. And you have to respect that. You have to.
And you do that so remarkably well. I think about that all the time. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I want to move on next to apply what we've just discussed to what I brought up in that email when I said, I'm trying to figure out what the actual hell we're doing here.
Okay. Yeah.
If you give me a challenge, I want to figure it out. If you give me a problem, I want to figure it out. I want to,
right.
That's my bent. Some people aren't interested in that. Other people are.
Right.
So my position, particularly since I started lifting my head out of the muck and looking around has been how do we fix this reality,
Oh,
and it dawned on me just recently. It'd been back and forth in my mind that this is 3D. In 3D, you get war, you get greed, you get corruption, you get murder, you get violence, those are components of the reality system we live in. That's not going to change. So
okay.
we're in 3D, well, partially. I think some of us are in 4. There might be some people in 5. So what is it we're doing, Penny? Are we trying, are are you here at this time with your team in
Mhm.
order to work with the people who are interested in this topic to prepare them to move up to a different, a, to move out of 3D into 4D and 5D, so we have a bigger collective of this form of human working at
Yeah.
a higher frequency? Did that
Yes.
question make sense?
Yes. So let me say it this way. What are we doing here? Remember what I said at the beginning? Every single particle that joins with another particle starts communicating in such a way that it can evolve into something greater. Okay? So that's us. We have 8 billion, maybe not quite 8 billion anymore. We've lost quite a few. And people are not replacing, we're not replacing ourselves. And I see that as a sign that we're getting ready to leave 3D, but that's another topic. So we're here to evolve the self, and we're here to, it's, you, if somebody were to pick you up and put you on a planet all by yourself, you wouldn't survive. We need one another. We absolutely need one another to survive. So when a reality stops working, you leave. Because your presence supports the reality that is ugly, not working, evil, etc., etc. You can leave and go somewhere else. You can leave and go back to the soup. You can leave and say, okay, I want to move up into a higher range of frequencies where that kind of crap doesn't happen. And I think that we have a little bit of everything happening here. When let's say it this way, let's say that that 50% of the people of the planet left. The 50% remaining would have to restart everything because there aren't enough people to support the big corporations in their current form, to work in those corporate. There just are not quite enough people. A lot of the people who would leave would be the people in those big corporations. And corporations, I don't want to pick on them, but they are a big problem. They masquerade as inorganic humans, inorganic beings, persons. They're considered to be persons, and they have all the rights of a person. And when they get big enough, they overtake the human rights. So we're here evolving, moving into something better. When you move into a higher range of frequencies, let's say that I have to make up some frequency. We'll say we have most people's brains operate between 0 and say 14 cycles per second, which is pretty low. So let's give them to 20. 20, you start getting into altered states, seriously. But then there's another range that goes from, say, 10 to 30. And there's another range that goes from 20 to 40 or 50 or 60. The more you move up, the bigger the range gets. I hope that makes sense. So 10 to 20 would be one range, and then 20 to, say, 50 would be the next range. And then, the next range would have a range of 40 to 50 or 60 cycles per second. And the beings, the people who live in those ranges of frequency they're powerful. we'll just say it. They have powerful consciousness in each person. So that's what we're doing here. We're playing with life, and yet nobody wants to leave and go someplace all by themselves. And I have done that. Trust me, you don't want that. You don't. There is nothing more wonderful than the people around you, as messy as it is, as awful as it is for some people. It's, believe it or not, it's comforting to have all those people. So people get together in a world, they create a world, they experiment, they bring it to its peak. We reached our peak in the 1950s, and then it starts to deteriorate. And that deterioration period says, we can do better. People inside themselves say, we can do better. We can do more. And so they take all the stuff that's learned in the degeneration period, and they carry that to a higher level that does not have corruption, that doesn't have the ugliness, that isn't as oriented toward death, where all the systems are very, very much more responsive to life. And there's such a some of the systems that we're moving into, or that we're going to have a choice to move into, are just astounding. There's no other way to put it. It's like, for me, can I have them all? You know, I don't want to be a little pig, but there are some amazing systems out there. There's just no other way to say it. So yeah, we are evolving, we are changing, we are waiting. The beginners, the people who started the move into a different frequency range, are getting tired of waiting for enough people to catch up. So it's going to come to a moment, probably over this winter, between, say, the end of September and over the winter, where we say, okay, yeah, we've had enough. And you've been saying that for a while, I think, haven't you? So
Yeah,
had enough.
It's to the point where, you know, it's boring.
It is.
It's boring. It's boring, and it's uninteresting.
Yep.
And
And we know the power that is at our fingertips, but you can't use that power effectively in a 3D environment. You have to get up to where things are less dense, and then things are much more responsive. And then you have to be careful, because everything is so responsive. So it's a whole new learning experience.
And I see that in my own life.
Yeah.
Where things show up friggin' so quick.
Yeah.
And I stop and I think, man, imagine when you instantaneously manifest what's going through your mind.
Watch out.
That's you've got to be in control of your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh my
You got to be really clear on that.
Yeah.
So here, 3D is an experience. That's what I could say.
Right.
And it's definitely a fertile ground for learning.
Think so? Yeah. Uh-huh.
And this, we might be getting into trying to teach my cat to use the computer territory here, where I've been noodling around it. And I'm sure people, those of you watching, I know, my guess is you felt this too. It's like, this is getting old and tiresome, and the lies don't even, it's just boring. It's just boring. And to me, the biggest, I hate seeing the waste of human creativity. We're so bogged down in these stupid systems that suck all our energy and make us log in and put in your password 9 different times and jump up and down and twirl around. You know, we're so bogged down by these ridiculous systems that are meant to just wear us down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm over it.
Yeah.
But I can't see how we get to the next place. And is it that the 3D stays here and we just sort of, you
Yes.
know, just sort of roll over to this new stuff and we wake up one morning and
Yeah. We don't know. We don't know for sure. So one of the things to
I'm going to stop you right there.
what? Go ahead.
You do this all the time.
What?
And I say this all the time, Penny, when you're not there. You probably hear me.
What?
I think Penny knows a lot more than she's saying.
Okay. Okay. So
what do you mean I don't know or you don't know?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Let me share what I do know and this might be a good moment. Go lay down.
Doing something.
Yeah, the dog is lay down.
Penny's got a dog with her.
Yeah, I think he wants to go outside and go potty. So let me just share. We were talking before we started about something that happened in the hotel hallway in Albuquerque. And it was, this happened 4 or 5 times, and it happened in the same place every time.
Do you want to take her out and go piddles?
I don't. I think he'll be okay for a minute, for a few minutes. So, I'm in the lobby. I'm in the lobby of the Crown Plaza Hotel, and I walk toward the elevator. And as I'm walking through this little hallway, there's this spot where, there's a lot of people and they're all waiting for the elevator. I stop with them. And while I'm there, all of a sudden the whole world starts to expand. I felt like I was becoming weightless, absolutely weightless. I could feel this breeze moving through me, not around me, but through me. And it was like, oh, wow, what's happening? That was the first time, like, oh. The second time was like, oh, wow, this happened in the same spot. And then the third time, I actually stopped and stood there for a minute and kind of closed my eyes. But you can't close your eyes in a public hallway for very long. But the feeling was so pronounced. It was like I was entering another world, or I had the opportunity to enter another world. And I thought, is it just the symbolism? A hallway is a transition point. An elevator is a symbol of moving up. And so then the fourth time and the fifth time was like this is a hybrid region. And I've been in that hotel many times, never had that experience. I do know that hybrid areas move around. And a hybrid area is an area where two dimensions overlap, and you can go into either one. And in that third and fourth and fifth experience, I stood there just like, oh my gosh, this is a hybrid area. And then after I left the hotel, I'm on my way back across the country driving. And I was walking across a parking lot somewhere. And I don't even remember the parking lot. I just remember I was in one of those, you're not really paying attention kind of modes. Get your suitcase and get your purse and, get all your stuff. And I wasn't really thinking about anything. And I'm going across the parking lot and I hear this click and I see this almost like a door open or like a curtain wave, like it waved in the wind or the door waved open by the breeze. And I'm looking into another world, and then it swung back and there was another click. And I was like, what was that? And then it happened again in a motel, the next day. And so it wasn't a specific location. It was just a moment where I was like, okay, there's that click in that door. And it was so quick. And I was so shocked that I didn't have a chance to register what was in that other world. I just noticed that the door opened and then swung shut. But I ended up realizing there's a message there that says the door is opening, and you're going to get an invitation. You're going to be able to move into that, or something of that sort. So what I'm aware of, especially now, and there's always something about August for me. Unusual things happen for me in August. And so I thought, okay, I've had like 4 or 5 instances in Albuquerque, and now a couple in, 2 different locations on the way home. What is that telling me? It's telling me that either I'm getting ready for something, or that the bridge to that new world is opening. I don't know. I have to just keep going and watch and see if anything happens, what happens, if anything. So I was kind of amazed by that. And I think we're going to be presented with opportunities. There are going to be messages. Usually I'm an early messenger. And so that's why I'm sharing it, because people experience things, but they don't pay attention. They don't notice what they just experienced. And what I'm saying is it's time to pay attention, because if something like that happens, that's a message from the universe, from the soup, that says you're a candidate for moving to that new world.
Okay, so the question that comes up for me is, and we're going to go back to the hotel at the conference.
Okay.
And you had said earlier that plasma interacts.
Yes.
And it looks for similarities, or like, what are you doing? I can do this. What can you do? Kind of thing.
Right. That's true.
Do you think that because of the energy of the people that were there, that there was a shift in the energy, in the frequencies of that hotel?
I didn't think of that. That's a good point. That's a possibility, because everybody there, not everybody, but a lot of people there were people at the conference who came to hear about the technology.
Yeah.
And it was obvious, that there was this thread of the interest in consciousness running through a lot of the presentations, not all of them, but even the ones that, that were not really about consciousness. I don't think they understood how much what they were saying fit the model of consciousness. They just not there yet.
Wouldn't it be interesting to interview every one of those presenters?
Oh, yeah.
And ask them a set of maybe 25, 30 questions, like, have you experienced something like this? Or what are your thoughts? I think that that would be such a unique opportunity to learn so much about where consciousness is going, because every single one of those people is looking at creating a whole new set of stuff, processes.
Whole new technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I noticed is a lot of the fellows who are working on trying to produce over Unity or prove this or that, they're still working with stuff and engines and things of that sort. And they haven't quite gotten that, put all that aside. It's really about energy.
Yeah.
And I think if they can get the idea in their head that the study of consciousness is really the study of frequencies, then they could begin to say, what is the frequency set of this piece of metal, or this laser, or this engine, or whatever? What is the consciousness of this piece of equipment? And begin to get somewhere.
Yeah. I think we're right on the cusp.
We are.
Yeah. And I also want to point out, there are times when all the efforts of, we'll call them the naughty boys, or whoever it is trying to, call the group that's trying to suppress humanity. Sometimes I laugh thinking, boy, they've done such a good job.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, they really have. And what struck me in the last 24 hours is you don't have to do anything other to a human than make them feel small and powerless. And
Yeah.
that stops everything in its track.
Boom. Yep.
Yeah.
Washes it all.
And that is, and I can say this, and I've been trying to think of the word, Penny, and maybe you can come up with it. It's more than diminished. It's like we're walking low self-esteem.
Yeah. We've been, I like to say, cut off from the conversation. When the science said nothing is real unless it's objective, and everybody else can see and feel and describe the same thing. Well, that just cut off all of the subjectiveness of every individual. We're left out of the conversation. And when you're not in the conversation, you're not real. You don't have what you say, what you think doesn't count because it's subjective. Well, that's horsepucky. That just doesn't work for the long run. It's a nice balance between objective and subjective. And they haven't quite figured that out. And yes, they've done a masterful job of squashing everybody, of really pulling the rug out from everyone as if they don't exist. And some people think they don't exist. It's so sad. The potential that has been lost is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling, which to me is, all the boring nonsense and all. It's like, oh, another stupid war. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
It's just like, can you at least come up with something fresh?
Yeah, right.
It's the waste of where we could be. And I was thinking earlier today, where would humanity be if we hadn't had this little, issue with whoever it is? I mean, we would be in I think an amazing space.
Well, look at it this way. Yeah, we have had a setback, but that setback is going to result in a huge leap forward and a huge benefit down the road, because we will have been in a place where we were fooled by false leaders. That's not going to happen after this is over.
That's a good point. It's kind of like that slingshot. The further you pull it back,
That's right. Yeah.
once we get unleashed, it's going to be like, and my opinion is we're going to be savvy.
Yeah. And we are becoming savvy. And what I see when I look around is people sitting there doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking, watching. It's like, you ain't fooling us. But we're not making a move until the opening for that move occurs. And you're going to make a mistake somewhere down the line. And we're going to make a move. And you're going to be done for. Yeah. Whatever that system is that people have their eye on. Some people everybody's got their eye on a different system that isn't working. And I think there's some stuff coming in that is, people are going to go, oh, where were you for the last 30, 40 years?
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming. I really want people to understand that that what's coming is really wonderful. So there's going to be some uncomfortable moments, and probably some fools are going to play their hand when things fall apart because they're going to freak out. Don't get caught up in that. Stay away from that. We need you to stay away so that you are here for the new earth.
Yeah. And the thing that is so, it's exciting to me in a way that I don't want to think about it too much because it's so exciting.
I know.
Is reality is so much cooler than what we've been living through.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the potential and the creativity and the innovation, and it's just it's so good.
And I hear that from everybody. In live streams, I never have a chance to look at what's being said, but I'll go back and read some of the live stream comments. It's like, oh. And you can see the wisdom of people shining through. You can hear their anger here and there. But they're ready. They're getting ready. It's like, okay, yeah, you go ahead. You just collapse your old system. We got ideas.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to wrap up with, Penny? This has been so helpful for me, and I know it's been so helpful for everybody. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it so much.
So, what would I say? Um, I'm sorry. My eye fell on what you wrote about me being at the conference, like a pig in the slop.
I told Penny, I said, I keep thinking about you at that conference. I'm thinking that girl's like a pig in slop right now.
Yeah, I was. That's true. So I'm trying to come up with something serious here to the end. I think, all I can say is we're coming up to Labor Day, okay? It's a holiday. Go have some fun. Enjoy. Do something sassy. Make life your own. We're probably coming into some difficulties starting at the end of September. Just get yourself ready. Psychologically, that's where the game is won or lost. Get ready.
Get ready. And I want to tell a little story that goes along with Penny. She just said, holidays coming up, be sassy, do a fun thing.
Yep.
I walk this little loop in my neighborhood, and there is a kid in my neighborhood. When I say kid, he looks maybe early 20-ish.
Okay.
And every now and then, Penny, he comes by and he is riding one of those two-wheelers with like a skateboard in between.
Oh.
And it moves when you move your foot forward and back. In other words, there's no handles. It's just on this device that goes automatically.
Yeah.
And he's got this leather jacket on, and he's got a helmet on, and he's got on earphones, and it's blasting music. And he whips by me so fast. And every time he does, it just makes my flipping day. Because I think, you aren't stopping us. Look at that kid.
Yep, right.
He is having so much fun going like a bat out of hell down this tree-lined street, having a blast. And it lifts my spirit so much because we have so much spark and fun and excitement and determined. It's like, I don't think he realizes that he makes my day so often.
Probably not. And he is so lucky because at that age, I wasn't watching the world either. I was busy doing my thing, thinking I was going to run the world. Yeah, sure. And then, reality starts to have its impact. And so you learn. But yeah, there's a wonderful stage in there where you're just doing what you want. So
I love that. It makes me love humanity so much when I see
I
that.
know. I know. Oh my. Yeah, go out there and be humanity, you people. Be humanity. Yes.
Do something wild and woolly and tell us about it.
Right. Amen. Amen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Penny. I appreciate you today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I think I might bring some of my plasma material, the photos that I have from the work in the lab, some of the true mysteries next time we talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, whoa. These are photos that kind of make your hair stand up.
I think that would be so fun.
Yeah.
I think I would love that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next sometime in September.
Towards the end of September.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Everyone.